The 35% affirmative action judgment and issues of gender bias in the legal profession, that's the focus of my conversation with the president of the African Women Lawyers Association, AWLA, Mrs. Efe Etomi. Also showing on the program, highlights from the Stakeholders Forum for Lawyers in Real Estate, as organized by the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, LASRERA, and the Construction and Infrastructure Projects Committee of the Section on Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association, plus our weekly recap of the top legal stories in the news. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Sheyeli. We continue with our focus on women and some of the bias they face. My guest, Efe Etomi, is a partner at a leading law firm, Chief Rotimi Williams Chambers. Mrs. Etomi has appeared in all superior courts of record in the country and has over 30 years of legal experience. At one time, she was a member of the National Judicial Council, NJC, and she's the current president of the African Women Lawyers Association, AWLA. In this interview, I look at her journey so far in the legal profession, the biases that she has identified against women, and suggestions on how to tackle same. What happened to your arm?
Well, I had a very bad fall. Fortunately, because it could have been worse, I ended up with a hairline fracture on my arm, but it's healing nicely.
I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Have you always wanted to be a lawyer, and what has that journey been like?
I think ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. What really comes to mind is when I was young, I'd say maybe around age 8. My dad then was in Warri, was a judge in High Court in Warri, and was the head judge. And they had these assizes, the ceremony. And he actually took us, the children, for it, so we're in the court premises. And the color, seeing him and others robed, even the magistrates were all there, then the police parade, the police band, and he inspecting the guard of honor. I think I just fell in love with the whole thing, As a child, I loved it, and I was like, okay, I want to. And then as a first daughter, say most first daughters have this relationship with their fathers. I wanted anything that would please my dad, so
he had a big influence on you.
Very, very big influence on me.
But what has the journey been like so far?
I would say so far so good, but I won't really say so far so easy. It's been a process. It's been a process. I have been a bit more fortunate than others because I have a lot of support system. I got into the right firm, so I've been here for 30 years. So I actually rose from the very junior to top management. Yeah, but it's been tough because I've been a lawyer for about 33 years. In the 30 years, I've brought up 5 children in this firm, and so it's been tough. Those that know me will tell you I'm actually a full-time career woman, a full-time mom, and a full-time wife. Everybody wants a bit of me or a piece of me, even my siblings, the family whole system, and I've had to cope, and well, I'm thankful.
I know you said that you've been fortunate, but as a woman, have you ever encountered bias in the legal profession, and how have you dealt with it?
I would say no, that's for me. The only thing one would say is it took me longer to get to the job, but that's because of my peculiar circumstances. You face any bias other people would face. It's not that as a lawyer I was being discriminated against or there was a bias in the system, but it's just the sheer fact that you're a woman. You go on maternity leave. Like I said, I have 5 children. You go on maternity leave. You come back. Nothing is waiting for you. So your juniors or your majors could have gone ahead of you, in terms of career. And the only, I remember actually as an incident where I discovered that as I was paying more tax, as in the payee, than my colleague that was male. And he was even senior to me in the firm, which meant he earns more than me. And I was wondering, how can I be earning less and paying more? And then I went to the accounts department and I'm like, why? I said, oh, it's the government, that's how it is. So there's that real bias of thinking it's the man that has more responsibilities. This was a male, a young male that was not married, earning more, and then I as a woman earning less was being made to pay more tax. It wasn't the fault of the firm, but it's the government, you know. So those are all the general biases we women face.
What have you identified as some of the challenges affecting the rise and the growth of women in the legal profession?
When you want to get the sale, the senior advocates, I believe we're less than 5% women. That's one. Two, a profession that comes out right to say there are no women in the profession, we are all gentlemen of the bar. I am not a gentleman, I am a woman, and proudly a woman. So, and we cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot say there are no women, and then you discriminate against us as women. You say we are men, but you don't give us the things you give the men. You tell me I cannot wear a trouser suit to court. I have to be prim and proper and wear my collarette. I have to, you know, so let's be real. It's all there. The general bias of some firms would not even give the women enough maternity leave. So once you don't take into consideration the biological needs of a woman, then that's already a bias. And it's not just with the legal profession, it's everywhere. And for the legal profession, I attend call to bar ceremonies. And you see the awards being given to ladies all the time, the best this, the best that, best in civil procedure, best in this, best overall, and they are ladies. So what happens? After some time, you don't hear about them, you don't hear of them. And then the men are still the ones heading these top firms. Well, with the exception of a few, like in our firm and a few other firms I'm close to, I know you have women in top management. Here we're almost 50%, we're 40-something percent. But outside that, the only women you hear of are those heading their own firms. You know, their own firms, with the exception of a few, like I say. So that obviously is an inherent bias. You even still have some clients that would insist on having men as lawyers because they just don't feel a woman can do it. You know, or you know. So for me, well, we need to break the bias. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
But as president of AWLA, what are you doing about some of these challenges that you've identified?
Well, we're educating people. We're having training sessions. We're educating people. We're working with law firms. I'm presently coming up now with policies. I believe, for example, all firms should have the sexual harassment policies in their, as part of their terms and conditions of employment, and we're trying to get people to speak out. Speak out. Let people know what you're going through, and then we'll call them out on it. And then we're trying to work with other groups. So we have legal clinics, not just for the indigent, but even for ourselves. So when you speak out, when people know, then you know that, look, the narrative has changed and it's no more business as usual.
A lot of people have described the recent judgment of the Federal High Court on 35% affirmative action for women as a big win. But how are you reading that, and what can we do about enforcing that judgment?
It's been long in coming. It's been long in coming. But it's just the beginning. It's a win, but we cannot rest there. It's just a judgment. I'll say kudos to Justice Donatus Okorowo. He was brave, to give that decision. But then, the law has been there since 2006. So how do you now enforce it? Who do you enforce it against? Okay, I go to a parastatal, and we don't have 35% women. Who is in contempt? Is it the minister? Is it the governor? Is it the president? Is it the PAMSEC? Who do you, So I believe now we need more brave judges or justices, but then we need the legislative arm and the executive arm to plug themselves into it. Things cannot be business as usual. And I'm thankful that women have now decided, look, enough is enough. And I believe together, a group of them came out, and got this. And now I'm openly saying, AWLA, going forward, we will be part of this. We would be at the forefront. And our vision and mission is to empower women, to break the barriers, to encourage and fight for gender parity. So, yes, it's a win, but it cannot rest there. It does not end there. It gives us nothing because it's always been there. The government have to have the will and the zeal to do what is right and to do the right thing for its people.
Would you say that the NBA has pulled its weight in terms of advancing, the causes of women?
I believe the NBA has been very vocal. I believe the NBA has, in the last two, been very encouraging of women. I know under the Paul Usoro regime, for example, the Women's Forum was reactivated, if it was there before, but it became very visible. And I know Olumide Akpata, it's also very vociferous, and he actually puts as many women as are available or make themselves available into committees. But again, when we look at the ratio, I still feel we're still not doing enough. We've not had any female president of the NBA.
But are women even putting themselves forward? Would you put yourself forward for the office of president of the NBA?
Before now, I would say, oh no, I don't like publicity. I won't put myself forward. I'll just help from the background. But I think we all now have to give more of ourselves. We cannot wait for other people to do it. I might not want to be the president of the NBA, but will I put myself forward for the cause of women? Yes. Because really, when the immediate past president of AWLA, Mandi Asaba, got me to come into AWLA, I just used to say, okay, no, I'll support you. And then when they were making the selection for who would be the next president, and I was and I, no, anybody, I would give my support. But during the COVID period, when the statistics of abuse of women rose, and then the UWA case, it dawned on me that you're here, you're making noise, you're reading it, you're talking, but what exactly are you doing? And really, that's when I decided, okay, look, put yourself forward, make yourself available. Put yourself where you're at. It's no more talk. Talk is cheap. Let's do something about it. We are not just going to come out International Women's Day. We wait for the theme, break the barriers, gender parity. Oh, no. We want to be hands-on. We're going to be working. I've tried to encourage each AWLA state to have committees that are working continuously. If every committee, whether it's the Girl Child Committee, the Widows Committee, the Children's Committee, or the Women's Committee, have something, even if it's every quarter, but it has to be on ground. It's not just coming and having meetings or conferences and then we talk and at the end of the day, we put a communique out if we do and then business as usual. No, it should not be business as usual. Well, I know I digressed from the MBA helping, but we shouldn't wait for the MBA. You are a female lawyer, I'm a female lawyer. What are we doing? You know, and that's where we just, look, arise. Let's stand up. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for values. Nigeria is ours. The country is ours. What are we leaving to our children? They came out, NSAS, they fought. They were ready to give their lives. And then we are here being comfortable. We are supporting them from our homes. Oh, you know, no. It's not a question of put your money where your mouth is, because some of us have, it's easy to give money, but when you give of your time and you give of yourself, it's more valuable. It shows what you really believe in. It shows what you really believe in. And you don't fold your hands. God would use people, but you must make yourself available. You must present yourself. And truly, that's what I believe in.
Welcome back. Stakeholders in the real estate sector have dissected the key provisions of the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority law, AWLA law, and offered suggestions for improving the law. The suggestions were made at a one-day stakeholder forum for lawyers in real estate as organized by AWLA and the Construction and Infrastructure Projects Committee of the Section on Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association. Here are some of the highlights from that event.
Like we say, oil of Lagos is real estate. Lagos is a major construction yard. Today we have an influx of people into Lagos. We are unable to control how many people come into Lagos. So the demand is high. And in everything in life, when the demand is high, there seem to be sharp practices and unruliness. So we are here today to speak to the lawyers in real estate and lawyers in general about this law. This law is very, very needed at this time. We need to sanitize the sector.
The need to sanitize the industry is what has brought all these lawyers and other professionals in the real estate sector together for this very important stakeholder forum. The representative of the Attorney General of Lagos, Mrs. Ademisola Olarinwaju, speaks on some of the salient points of the law. Signed into law on February 7, 2022 by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the law aims to, among other things, regulate real estate transactions as well as the activities of registered professionals in the space in Lagos. To ensure a smooth implementation, the law establishes the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, which will check fraudulent practices, maintain and update permits, as well as receive and investigate petitions and complaints from the public.
So now the authority will also register and issue permits to all those that are involved in real estate transactions. So it's, as I said, is to sanitize the public.
Then follows a critique of the law from some of the professionals here who have been constituted into a panel.
We have several agencies already. In fact, I was going through list of Lagos State parastatals. I found over 70. For those in the industry particularly, Ministry of Urban and Regional Planning is there. There is everything in Lagos State. Las Papa, Las Epa, Las Bas, everything is out there. You find all of them. And I ask myself, all of this last something. They are unable to regulate this industry. Do we need another agency? Are we not creating some forms of bureaucracy?
I do not believe that we need a law to regulate private treaties, private contracts between individuals that they have willingly entered into. Why? Because there are general principles under the law of contracts which guide parties in any transactions, real estate transactions not excluded, and they may not have recourse to any regulatory authority before concluding these transactions. Parties consummate transactions every day, and the principles of contract, of course, often apply. And then let's not forget about the sanctity of contracts. Parties have the freedom to contract in whatever terms and capacities they deem fit. And of course, let's not forget about the invasion of privacy, because if we have to register, some of our transactions, such as tenancies, below 5 years, as we have been corrected, it's, to an extent, it's an invasion of privacy.
For now, because of the housing deficit, from some sort of data that I got, I understand that for Nigeria, we need around 700,000 to 800,000, and this data wasn't even recent, so we're looking at maybe even 1 million housing units constantly every year for the next at least 20 years to be able to meet the housing deficit. So legislation should look at the problem, the pain points, and then veer towards solving those pain points, rather than just overarching, supervisory roles.
The special advisor to the governor on housing says the feedback has all been taken on board for better productivity in the days ahead.
So we're taking the feedback and we're going to be working on it. They've spoken about the 30-day consent. We're going to see how we're going to improve. They've spoken about the 5-day search. We're going to see how we're going to improve those processes. Reason why we're here engaging with our people is to see what is obtaining in the market and help to ease the business activities in Lagos.
Let's now bring you a quick recap of some of the top legal stories in the news.
We begin with the report that the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has struck out 8 of the 15-count charge brought by the federal government against the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. Justice Binta Murtala Nyako held that counts 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 14 have not disclosed any offense against the defendant, while counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, and 15 are valid and requires the defendant to put in a defense. Justice Nyako's ruling was on a preliminary objection by Kanu, with which he challenged the validity of the 15-count amended charge in which he was rearraigned. Still in Abuja, another federal high court has declined to sack the Cross River State Governor, Mr. Ben Ayade, and his deputy, Ivara Esu, over their defection to the All Progressives Congress from the People's Democratic Party. Justice Taiwo held that the removal of a sitting governor and his deputy can only be in line with constitutional provisions. The judge also held that the judiciary lacks the power to remove an elected officer, as that is the job of the legislature. According to the judge, defection also cannot be a ground for removal from office, as both men can only be removed in line with sections 180, 188, and 189 of the Constitution on account of death, resignation, or impeachment. Another judge of the same federal high court, Justice Donatus Okorowo, has ordered the federal government to implement its 35% affirmative action for appointive political positions. In his judgment, Justice Okorowo agreed with the women that the lopsided appointments by government is unlawful and an arbitrary violation of the National Gender Policy 2006, as well as international treaties on entrenching the rights of women, which Nigeria is a signatory to. The judge held that these documents are not mere policy statements, but must be backed with requisite action on the part of government. Yet another judge of the same court, Justice Nnamdi Dingba, has discharged and acquitted former Minister of Interior Abba Moro in respect of the charge of fraud arising from the conduct of the botched Nigerian Immigration Service recruitment exercise in 2014. In 2020, the judge had quashed 7 out of the 11-count charge against the former minister and his co-defendants following a no-case submission, and in a judgment delivered on Thursday, April the 7th, the court exonerated Abba Moro and the former director in the ministry, Mr. Femi Alaibami, on the remaining 4 counts. In dismissing the charges against Abba Moro, the court held that he was neither a member of Tenders Board nor a member of the committee that recommended the setting up of e-recruitment portal for the exercise when he was minister. The judge, however, convicted Abba Moro's co-defendant, a former permanent secretary at the Ministry of Interior, Anastasia Daniel Mobia. He held that as the accounting officer of the ministry, she was responsible for ensuring that award of contracts are done in compliance with the Public Procurement Act, and having found that there was no approval from the Bureau of Public Procurement, she was guilty. The judge deferred sentencing to April the 22nd. In the case of late Iniobong Umoren, the prime suspect in the murder trial has made a U-turn by denying that he knew the victim. Uduak Frank Akpan, who is standing trial on a 2-count charge of murder and rape, made the U-turn while giving evidence as he opened his defense. He had initially pleaded guilty before the Akwa Ibom State High Court for the murder of Ms. Umoren, whose body was said to have been exhumed from Akpan father's residence in Urwan local government area of the state. But when he opened his defense on Wednesday, April the 6th, he told the court that he got to know about the name Inyobong Umoren when he was served with the proceedings of the trial while in prison custody. The 21-year-old defendant also denied raping anyone since he was born. When asked why he initially pleaded guilty at his arraignment in July 2021, the defendant claimed he had fever on the day. And we round off with the report that the Lagos State government has asked for an opportunity to explore an out-of-court settlement with a retired judge of the Lagos High Court, Justice Babadide Candid Johnson, over its failure to pay his pension, gratuity, and other entitlements a year after his retirement. Through its counsel, Saeed Quadri, the state government asked Justice Maureen Esowe of the National Industrial Court, Lagos, to grant an adjournment to enable parties in the matter to discuss. They requested for 4 weeks. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Yemi Candid Johnson, who represented the retired judge, did not oppose the request for an adjournment. Justice Esowe has adjourned till May the 9th for a report of the settlement.
That's the show. Thank you for watching. Please catch up with past episodes on our YouTube page. I'm Shola Shieli. See you next week.